happens, you know the rest of the story. But I just want you to see that this is spirits entering into people, causing then disobedient behavior. Go over to Jonah. Jonah 1, verse 3. Let me have someone start reading there. I'll just pick it up. Let's start from the first verse. Let's start there so you can get the purpose. Jonah 1, verse 1.
Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me.
Okay. So this is Jonah. The Bible has introduced Jonah as a prophet of the Lord. And the Bible has said that Jonah has gotten a message from God to go do something. So the word is saying that the Lord, whom we cannot see, is intervening in Jonah's life. Jonah woke up that day. He was going through the day, and then the Bible is saying that the Lord intervened in his life and gave him this message. That's the same today as if though right now when we finish that the Lord comes to you and he speaks to you about something that he wants to have done. Well, the Lord is speaking to Jonah because Jonah is considered a prophet, so that Jonah would turn around, and prophets are like mailmen, mail personnel. They deliver the message. It's not their message, but they're delivering the message. They're the messenger. So that's what Jonah has been given a charge by God to do, to deliver this message. Continue, please.
But Jonah rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord, and went down to Joppa. And he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof, and went down into it, to go with them unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord.
So Jonah decided, I don't want to go to Nineveh. He decided, I want to go to Tarshish. I'm not going to go to Nineveh, which means he's saying, I'm not going to tell the people of Nineveh what you said, God. But I'm going somewhere else. That's what Jonah just did. Now, based on our definition of disobedience, we learned that disobedience means what? What did we learn that Webster told us that disobedience means?
Refusal or neglect to obey.
Refusal or neglect to obey. Refusal or neglect to obey. So is that what's happening here?
Yeah.
Okay. So by him doing something opposite of what God says, or doing something different from what God says, that means that he is refusing to do what God says. It's just like if I say to you, pick up that piece of paper and put it in the trash, and instead of you picking up the paper and putting it in the trash, you decide to walk past it and to keep going, to do something else. It's the same situation, the same type of defiance, refusal. Continue.
But the Lord sent out a great wind into the sea, and there was a mighty tempest in the sea.
Who said it?
Lord.
The Lord. Now, Psalm 24:1 says, the earth is the Lord's, the earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof. So that means the earth and the stuff that's in the earth belongs to God. The wind belongs to God. The waters belong to God. The actual dirt, rocks, stones belong to God. Trees, everything belongs to God. So the Bible said the Lord took what he owns and did what with it? Continue.
So that the ship was like to be broken.
Okay, so he made the waters rough. He made the waters rough so that the ship that they were on would have a hard time trying to get to the destination that they were trying to get to. That just like you being on an ocean liner, and then you got all of a sudden these huge waves come up that you weren't expecting. Continue, please.
Then the mariners were afraid, and cried every man unto his God, and cast forth the wares that were in the ship into the sea, to lighten it of them. But Jonah was gone down into the sides of the ship, and he lay and was fast asleep.
So Jonah was in a little deep sleep, wasn't he? Jonah found him a nice little spot, and he thought that he was just going to, sleep all the way through it, and when he'd get to Tarshish and do what he was planning to do, and that was going to be it. But the Bible said that all of them were calling on their gods. What does that tell you about the people then who were on the ship?
They believe in something.
They believed in
the God that gave Jonah the message.
Right. They didn't believe in the God that gave Jonah the message, but they believed in something. So whatever they believed in, that's who they turned to. And you remember we learned that, Bible scholars, what people tend to, their reaction is rooted in what they believe in most, what they trust in most. So these people turned to what they trusted in most, their gods, the Bible said. But it wasn't Jehovah God, but they turned to their gods, their other gods. How do we know it wasn't Jehovah God? Because it kept doing what? Did it change the weather or the circumstance? No. Continue.
So the shipmaster came to him and said unto him, What meanest thou, O sleeper? Arise, call upon thy God, if so be that God will think upon us that we perish not.
So he said, get up and call on your God. I don't know who your God is, but everybody else is calling on their God. So you down here sleeping, you need to get up and call on your God too. So that we won't die. Continue.
And they said every one to his fellow, Come and let us cast lots, that we may know for whose cause this evil is upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell upon Jonah. Then said they unto him, Tell us, we pray thee, for whose cause this evil is upon us. What is thine occupation? And whence comest thou? What is thy country? And of what people art thou?
Okay, so they're saying, we believe you are the problem, Jonah. So tell us about you. What you've been doing, what do you do? What's been happening that could have caused this to happen? Now, all along, while they're asking these questions, trying to get to the bottom of this investigation, the wind and the waters are still doing their thing outside. Continue.
And he said unto them, I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, which hath made the sea and the dry land.
Who he said the God of heaven made what? What did the God of heaven make?
The sea and the dry land.
The sea and the dry land. So he's bearing witness to what David said in Psalm 24:1. The earth is the Lord, the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. He's saying, the God that I serve owns these things. Continue.
Then were the men exceedingly afraid, and said unto him, Why hast thou done this? For the men knew that he fled from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. Then said they unto him, What shall we do unto thee, that the sea may be calm unto us?
Okay, so they're saying, You are the reason we are having this problem. You are running away from your God. So what do we need to do so that we can get the seas calm and we can reach our destination safely? What do we need to do? Is the question they're asking one another. Continue.
For the sea wrought and was tempestuous.
So it was really bad. It was still slapping the ship around. Continue.
And he said unto them, Take me up and cast me forth into the sea, so shall the sea be calm unto you. For I know that for my sake this great tempest is upon you.
So it sounds like, what does it sound like Jonah is realizing? Does it sound like Jonah realized that he's wrong?
Yes. Realize he can't hide from God.
Does it sound like he realized that God caught up with him? Yeah. So he's saying, in order to save yourselves, throw me overboard. In order to save yourself, throw me overboard. Now, this is the way mankind looks at it. This is the lens that they look at life through. Continue reading.
Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to bring it to the land, but they could not, for the sea wrought and was tempestuous against them. So
they heard what he said, but they said, no, we're not going to throw you overboard. We're going to still try to get the land. Although you the cause, we're going to still try to get the land. But the Bible said that the sea didn't let up at all. Continue.
Wherefore they cried unto the Lord and said, We beseech thee, O Lord, we beseech thee, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not upon us innocent blood, for thou, O Lord, hast done as it pleased thee. So they took up Jonah and cast him forth into the sea, and the sea ceased from her raging.
So the Bible said they threw him in the sea, and the sea stopped. That's power. As soon as they threw him in the sea, it stopped. That is power. Continue.
Then the men feared the Lord exceedingly, and offered a sacrifice unto the Lord, and made vows.
So even they started, that shows you how afraid they were, they started offering sacrifices to Jehovah. Even though they didn't know God, they knew what God could do. And they started offering sacrifices because they saw and experienced what God could do. Continue. Now
the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights.
So Jonah, the Lord wasn't finished with Jonah. It wasn't as easy as throw you overboard and then the seas settle. What that meant is that God had mercy on the rest of those people. And especially because they began to acknowledge the greatness of God, God didn't destroy their lives. He let them make it to their destination. Let them continue on with calm seas. However, the Lord wasn't finished with Jonah. The Bible said the Lord caused this great fish to swallow him. It didn't say chew him. It said swallow him. And so now he's in the belly of this great fish, total darkness for 3 days and 3 nights. This is a timeout. A timeout for Jonah. All Jonah's life activities have stopped. He can do nothing. Nothing but stay before God. That's what has happened here. This is his timeout. His timeout for his defiance. He was swallowed up and remained there for 3 days and 3 nights. Continue.
Oh, that was it.
Okay. So in effect, the Lord, you continue to read on, you will find that the Lord had mercy. The Lord released him. And Jonah went on to do God's work in chapter 2. We're not going to read that today, but I just wanted you to understand this time out, because that's basically what it was. Jonah wasn't dead. Neither was Jonah functioning as his normal life was. But Jonah was in between. And he was in a place where he could do nothing but stay before God. He was in a place where he had to acknowledge all that he had done that was not right. He had to humble himself. And he had to change his evil ways, his wicked ways. And you can see that by the way that Jonah went forth and did what God said in the rest of this book. But his defiance got him into that place. Go over to Acts 9 with me, please, as we get ready to close. In Acts 9, let me have a reader at verse 1.
And Saul, yet breathing out threatening and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest, and desired of him letters to Damascus, to the synagogue, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem. And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven. And he fell to the earth, and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, Who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what wilt thou have me to do? And the Lord said unto him, Arise and go into the city, and it shall be told thee what thou must do. The men which journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing the voice, but seeing no man. And Saul arose from the earth, and when his eyes were opened, he saw no man. But they led him by the hand and brought him to Damascus.
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, continue to read that night.
And he was 3 days without sight, and neither did eat nor drink.
Okay, so the Bible said he was 3 days without sight. I want you to see the experience that Saul woke up with, and that was a part of his life for the next few days. He woke up one day doing what he normally had been doing, and he was living according to doing certain things. He was going after people who were called Christians. He would go and get permission from the chief priest, and the chief priest would give him the approval to go and track down this new sect of followers of God known as Christians. Track them down and bring them to the chief priest for judgment. And so that's what he was. What people might call today a bounty hunter. He was basically going and grabbing people and bringing those people to the chief priest. And this was what was thought to be doing the Lord's work until Jesus intervened. And when Jesus intervened in Saul's life, he intervened in such a way that he made him aware that he was kicking against the pricks. And that was the easiest way for Jesus to be able to communicate to him. Just like if you kick a stick of brow, if you kick something sharp and it's going to hurt you because you're kicking it. He said you're doing the very same thing by going and trying to round up Christians. So that's why he said it's hard when you're kicking against the truth, when you're kicking against the right way, it's hard for me to accept you. So you got to change. And you got to know that what you were led to believe by the chief priests, what you were led to believe by the religious leaders as my way is not correct. And to ensure that he understood that this was something new and this was something different from what he had already understood God's way to be, he was blinded 3 days, the Bible declares unto us. He was blinded 3 days. And so that meant that his life, his normal operation of his life did what? It stopped, didn't it? It was paused, wasn't it? Just like somebody being put in a corner in a classroom, the normal freedom that they have has been paused. And so what the Lord is saying here to Saul is that I know it felt like you were doing the right thing. And I know that every word that the chief priest told you, you felt that you were doing God service, God's work. But Jesus is breaking news to him that he is not doing God's work, no matter what the chief priest told him. So he knows now that he has to change. But in this time that he is blinded, he's in a timeout. Because can he go forth, even if he wanted to go forth and still try to capture Christians, he couldn't see them, could he? He couldn't function by himself without someone leading him around. And he didn't know that his vision was going to be back in 3 days. All he knew is that he couldn't see. But that gave God a chance through Jesus Christ, to minister unto him, to help him see God's true way. And as you read the rest of that chapter, you can read the rest of that chapter for homework, what you will find is that he began to have a change of heart. He began to change his ways, and he no longer respected the work that the chief priest was doing. The chief priest had him to do. He no longer did that. In fact, he was doing the opposite of that, of what that work was. He was now on the right side of God.
Oh, praise be to God, from whom all blessings flow. It is our prayer at Clay Family Ministries that your life has been increased with the increase of God through this study. We appreciate and are thankful for your fellowship during this life skills study segment.